You may be asking yourself, are we back? Well, we are so back. A Shinobi game in the year 2025, 14 years after Joe Musashi's last excursion. Shinobi Art of Vengeance. The title sounds like one of those really campy and cheap Karate B movies. Maybe something John Woo or Tony Jaa would direct. It's perfect.
Shinobi's back!
Art of Vengeance was developed by the French developer Lizard Cube, a team that should be no stranger to Sega at this point. They had already impressed Sega with their remake of Wonder Boy 3: The Dragon's Trap, and Streets of Rage 4, as part of Sega's Power Surge initiative. The idea is to take some of Sega's older and somewhat dormant IPs and bust them out of retirement John Wick style. Because we all know Sega has a landfill the size of Texas full of their dead IPs. But this time Sega would lend their properties to various third-party developers. And if things go well, we may see a resurgence of Crazy Taxi or even Jet Set Radio in the future. Which would be surprising considering that all the music in those games would cost an arm and a leg due to licensing fees. Just getting the sampled sounds in Jet Set would be a financial nightmare by itself. Lizard Cube met Sega while teaming up with .mu to make the Wonder Boy 3 remake. Sega liked what they saw and agreed to publish the game, which then led to Streets of Rage 4, then Art of Vengeance. I had two major questions going into this game. First was, how would the art style of Streets of Rage 4 benefit Shinobi? And I got my answer. It worked surprisingly well here. The hand-drawn, comic book, urban feel of Streets of Rage 4 complements Shinobi pretty well, actually. We've seen these games go through different aesthetic choices over the years. It's had a Super Sentai look, a 90s Saturday morning look, and a darker, edgier look. Able to transition between traditional Japanese villages and bamboo forests, crime-filled slums, military complexes, and secret laboratories. Arguably Shinobi's biggest strength, and by proxy, Art of Vengeance's as well. No two levels ever look alike. They become their own individual world. The second question, how would Art of Vengeance, a 2D action platformer from an indie studio, differentiate itself from the rest of the 2D action platformers from indie studios? This game came out around the same time as Ninja Gaiden Ragebound and Silksong. The competition is very real. Times have changed, and the landscape now is much more different than it was in the 16-bit era. According to Ben Fiquet, the creative and art director for Art of Vengeance, he believed that name recognition would be a contributing factor to the game's success. This is a franchise that dates back to 1987, and most children today don't even know who Barack Obama is. Do you feel old yet? Because I feel ancient right now. I don't think Art of Vengeance is going to reinvent the wheel here, but it doesn't have to. All it needs to do is be badass, absurd, challenging, ninja fun, and it excels in that regard. Fiquet also believed that Art of Vengeance needed something more to rope in the current generation of gamers as well. A new art style, new mechanics, with elements of a Metroidvania game. Because it's a 2D game from an indie studio. Of course it would. You find a wall that you can't get past, so you find an ability to break the wall, so you backtrack and get what's on the other side. You know the drill. A new combat system with combos, collectibles, new bosses, old bosses, and we get to hear Joe Musashi speak for the very first time. PS2 Shinobi doesn't count. Neither does All-Star Racing Transformed. But every time something happens in the game, could be a dialogue with the boss, or one of the characters telling him the fate of the world is in danger, Joe has this one response that perfectly encapsulates his emotions, every single time. Hey Joe, do you think the Giants will make a comeback this season? Joe, does this look like a boil or a pimple? Look, I'll take this over the modern protagonist with cringy quips that never shuts the fuck up.
I just move shit with my freaking mind!
Plot-wise, this game is some kind of a reboot. I thought it was going to be another sequel at first, but Art of Vengeance is set in its own universe, but it still borrows heavily from the previous games. Joe's wife Naoko is here, and not crushed to death, which is nice. And Yamato from Shadow Dancer is here. even though the dog doesn't belong to Joe if I recall. That's only in the North American version of Shadow Dancer on the Genesis. And Naoko is pregnant here with what I assume is going to be Hayate, Joe's estranged son from Shadow Dancer. Now, I do get a bit worried when a series starts rebooting, but as long as it's not on the level of Mortal Kombat, which rebooted twice mind you, I'll let it slide. After the second time it's like, why get invested again when everything is just going to be rewritten and nothing really matters? But back to Shinobi. Zed still exists in some capacity as their keys are collectibles, which leads to a very fun secret later on, but they're not the villains here. It's E&E Corporation now. And it's the usual. World domination and war on a global scale.
Of course!
No, we're not doing the bison thing again. Get that shit out of here. Led by a new antagonist, Lord Ruse. And how much of a threat is Lord Ruse to the world? He stole the scythe from the Grim Reaper. Yeah, we're totally fucked. We're gonna start getting into potential spoiler territory here. So here's the timestamp. You've been warned. Ruse's backstory is that he was next in line to become the Grim Reaper once the old one retires. Wait, I thought that was an eternal job. I guess not? Like, do you get a pension and medical benefits? Sick days? Maternity leave? Is there like a LinkedIn page for Grim Reapers or something? Ruse refused, because it meant that he would have to abandon his wife and kid. But since he was chosen to be the successor, he had no choice but to accept the job. In an act of defiance, Ruse stole the Death Scythe from the former Reaper, but Ruse couldn't control his overwhelming new power. This led to Ruse killing his wife and kid in a tragic accident by consuming all the souls in Purgatory to basically become some sort of Super Ultra Mega Death God 2 Turbo HD remix, and with an immense army of E&E Corp soldiers, demons, ghost samurai, beast summoners, uncontainable lab experiments, jumping brains, and... Hey Joe, there's a kaiju twice the size of Jupiter commencing the second impact. What do we do? I told you we were fucked. But despite these seemingly insurmountable odds, there is one obstacle in Ruse's path. The Oboro clan, led by the ninja master himself, Joe Musashi.
A fire had been ignited in the heart of the Oboro leader, flickering flame of revenge.
Along the way, Joe is aided by one of his ninja disciples, Tomoe. She has two jobs. She tells you how awesome Musashi is all the time, and she's also the good old navigator in your head trope that Joe Redifer loves so much.
The Radio Buddy is just a lazy, uncreative way for developers not only to advance the story, but also to hold your hand.
But at least a navigator, or navigators, don't hold your hand and talk to you as if your IQ is on par with Darkside Phil. I don't even have to watch, I just know this game will kill him.
You're kidding me!
Musashi is also aided by an E&E executive named Chiyo, who is brainwashed by Ruse, until Joe reverses her brainwashing by using his precise and delicate ninja skills. Nah, he just rips the Sandevistan out of her back like Raiden in Revengeance. How this didn't kill her is still a mystery to me. There's just a huge hole in her back now, and she's okay, I guess. And the former Grim Reaper who wants his scythe back. This is Anko. You meet him after Lord Ruse murders your entire clan by petrifying them. And he killed the dog too? Oh, it's John Wick for real now. That's right, he killed your entire clan, and your dog and Tomoe sacrificed themselves to protect your pregnant wife. How does Joe respond to all this? I feel ya, homie. So now it's up to Joe, his former Resistance fighter friend with a crater in her back, and the former Death God to stop E&E Corp. The game even points out how ridiculous this team really is.
If we make it through this, it's gonna be a pretty amusing sight, sharing a toast with a Grim Reaper and a ninja.
And while we're here, Anko, I'm just gonna say it, is fucking useless. You think having the Reaper at your side should be checkmate, but he don't do shit. All he does is offer you a katana. Granted, it's the best katana in the game, even though there's only two of them. It's still the best because it does more damage than your default. He doesn't outright give it to you though. You have to do these challenges after you pass through these secret Anko rifts to get a piece of the sword. 9 pieces in total. Dude, I thought we were allies. Just give me the goddamn sword. You want to save the world, right? No, he makes you work for it. Shame it wasn't the other kind of death god. I could just write down Ruse's name and be done with it. the levels here are much, much longer here than in the old days. Sort of like the levels in the PS2 Shinobi, but much longer than the previous 2D ones. Those levels could be beaten in a few minutes or less. An Art of Vengeance level is anywhere between 10 and 15 minutes, at least on a first playthrough. And that's assuming you've done a 100% run of said level. An older Shinobi game could be beat in less than an hour. This one gives you a trophy if you can beat it in less than 10 hours. I didn't get that trophy on my first run. I was recording the dialogue, playing more leisurely, exploring, backtracking and collecting everything. And the rest of the time was spent on dying because some parts of this game can get a bit nutty. Can it be tough? Depends on how well versed you are in action platformers, old and new. But it's nowhere near of a bastard as the PS2 Shinobi. I feel like now we've hit a much better balance in terms of difficulty. A game like Shinobi 3 was arguably on the easier side of the franchise. The arcade games, however, those were one hit, one kill. But in Shinobi 3, Joe was maybe too good in that game, which made it one of the easier retro Shinobi games. They made Art of Vengeance more challenging without having to nerf Joe. In fact, they didn't nerf him at all. They made Joe stronger than ever before. Now, I feel a bit dirty when I say this game makes you feel like a ninja master after all that Arkham Asylum review bullshit.
Arkham Asylum makes you feel like you're Batman. Gameplay is broken
Make it stop! But this game does make you feel like a ninja master. My go-to litmus test for these kinds of games is to look up Sunhee Legend on Twitter. If Sunhee makes a combo exhibition video of your game, you're in good hands. Combos aren't anything new to Shinobi. PS2 Shinobi and Nightshade dabbled in this style of combat. Older Shinobis relied on kunai and single strikes. I thought it was more fitting for a ninja to avoid close combat, and making as little noise as possible. But when the combat is this good, you won't hear me complain. You have a combo system that Lizard Cube dabbled with in Streets of Rage 4, and experimented even further here. And you may find some power-ups that take advantage of your combo meter to give you more damage, like amulets that give you buffs when your combo gets higher, extra kunai, extra money. I also like the amulet that gives you a shield after 60 seconds. It's great for tanking a hit, and it prevents your combo from disappearing after said hit. Use the Aboro relics you find to unlock new items in this shop located in this portal, and its shopkeeper is this ghost pig thing.
Welcome to the yokai shop.
What are you buying?
I understood that reference.
Combos are simple to pull off, utilizing 2 buttons and maybe even a third, complete with aerial moves, running moves, juggling, and more. You can very easily incorporate your various and interchangeable ninpo, kunai, and the entire kitchen sink if you feel like it. And the best part of the combo counter is that it only disappears if you get hit. How many times did your combo disappear because there was nothing around for you to hit? Or how you had to play recklessly to keep it alive? It stays with you until the end, or when you mess up. Follow it up with a ninja execution. Fill the little white meter below the enemy's health with heavy moves or kunai. Then press the shoulder buttons. This is where the kunai excels. Instead of a one-shot kill, it can fill the execution meter in no time. You don't even have to get close to some enemies. Just toss a few and one-shot them. I combined it with the piercing amulet, and enemies just dropped like flies. Executing multiple people in one shot just feels so satisfying. You can even cross gaps with the execution. You can also get too careless and get yourself hurt. As you familiarize yourself with the Shinobi franchise, you start to see just how much Art of Vengeance draws from its predecessors. You have the dropkick taken from Shinobi 3. You have the Aboro relics taken from the PS2 Shinobi. You even have the tied up children from days of old. Just a few examples. And the surfboard? It's back. Now it's a fucking Shinobi game. You have more moves that you have to unlock. And the best part about them is that they are not only progression moves, they are combat moves as well, and they are definitely viable moves. The charge punch breaks enemy shields and can shove enemies to the side, same as this downward strike move, also breaks shields and gets the drop on enemies too. Plus, it looks like Joe is dabbing when he does it. And breaking through multiple floors at a time just looks amazing, even when there's fire jets and crap as you fall down. Do you remember the jumping shuriken attack from Revenge? You can still do that, but it requires ninpo, and it just doesn't feel the same. But at least it doesn't burn through your shurikens like it used to. Joe now comes equipped with a Mega Man X-style air dash, a grappling hook, a glider, claws, which leads to more varied and unique level designs and challenges. Just a few additions to Joe's bag of tricks, combined with his new ninpo attacks. The ninpo is hit or miss for me, but it's interchangeable, which means you can experiment with them. You can have powerful ninpo, or combo extenders, whatever floats your boat. My personal favorite is the water ninpo. Works in any scenario. The snake one, however, it sucks. A real ninja would have been stabbed about 30 times before this damn snake shows up. And you gotta expect your enemy to just stand there and wait for it, like they're waiting for the Moonanite lasers or something.
Just hang on.
It takes a while.
And they gave it the best stats. Somebody at Lizard Cube has a sick sense of humor. And we can't forget about the ninjutsu. A lot of Joe's greatest hits make a comeback. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I have some grievances. First off, it takes forever to fill up the ninjutsu meter instead of having limited uses like in the old days. You fill the meter by taking damage or getting executions on certain enemies. You still have 4 magics. His fire jutsu, while still effective, is useless against enemies with barriers.
Bullshit!
And I do love the animation here, but the actual attack is visually disappointing. His electric defense jutsu is only a defense buff now, and not invincibility like the old days. Why? His suicide jutsu, which doesn't kill you because there's no life system here, leaves you on the brink of death, so definitely a last resort for tons of damage. And a new ninjutsu that heals you up, which sounds useful, but death really isn't something to be afraid of in Art of Vengeance, so if you die, you start right back at the nearest one, and whatever you collected doesn't need to be collected again. You'd be surprised how forgiving this game is. No limited continues or lives either. Instead of waiting for your Reaper buddy to do his job and take you to the Great Dojo in the sky, just pick a checkpoint to fast travel to. And now you have all your health back. And you don't even have to redo anything. Just fast travel back to the nearest checkpoint and continue. Or say you need to backtrack to a certain point but the game wants you to clear these hazards again but in reverse. Just fast travel instead. And I am playing this on Shinobi, which is supposed to be the hardest difficulty, but it just feels normal to me. Sure, you can mess with these settings here if the game isn't hard enough, or maybe you want an easier game. And there are no trophies for beating Art of Vengeance on a certain difficulty or with any accessibility options enabled. You will find more ways to game the system in your favor as you play, knocking enemies off of ledges, striking enemies as soon as they enter, or even letting the hazards do the heavy lifting. Like when you do these elite challenges, you have to kill a bunch of enemies in this one space, and sometimes it gets pretty cramped, and other times you are above a bottomless pit. This can either be an advantage or an inconvenience for you. And the longer you play the game, the more faults you'll encounter within the game. I think these sections where you push these big objects can really slow the game's pace to a halt. And with a game that moves this fast, you feel it even more. The map, which is useful for finding secret areas and collectibles, can be a bit deceitful at times. Like if I fall down here, do I wind up on this floor? That's what logic dictates. Nope, it's just death. What the fuck? And there were some more hiccups I encountered later on. When you get to these wind sections, there's this wind chime-like sound effect that plays here. But when I left the area, the wind chimes were still going, even on the map screen. Must be a sound glitch or something. And these elevators. There's nothing wrong with having a battle on an elevator, but with me being a legendary ninja master, of course, I killed these enemies way too fast. Now there's nothing to do until the elevator stops. I think I waited about a full minute just standing and doing nothing. I got an idea. Where's that Home Alone 2 clip? As much as I enjoy the levels here, there are some parts that just piss me off. And it's usually stuff you wouldn't expect on your first playthrough. There are times where I need to evolve and get good. And that's fine and all. Like these two ghosts that throw shit at you while you're platforming. And the secret bunker, which we are never going to do ever again. But these snipers. There's introducing the enemy, and then there's getting sucker punched with the semi-truck. Like the train stage where the sniper scopes blend into the background. And there was a nice, audible, "What the fuck was that?" when I got shot by seemingly nothing. And the floating horse heads that can be a pain when they go under the floor and I can't hit them. Face me, you cowards! Easily one of the most annoying enemies in the game. But the brains probably aggravated me the most. They leave a poison cloud when they die, and it's the perfect combo breaker. Some might even complain that the camera zooms too far away from the action. And with all the craziness on screen, like in this one Onko rift where everyone looks like ants, it's very easy to lose yourself in the moment. You own it, and you better never let it go. A wise man said that once. I also think there are too many escape sections in the game. Now, there were a few that maybe clinched parts of my body I didn't even know could clinch. That's fun and all, but I think I escaped fire about 7 or 8 times during my playthrough. I guess, I lost count. There's fire, fighter jets, electrified water, and desert skull faces. All escape scenes, by the way. It gets a bit repetitive after a while, and the final area before the final boss seemed redundant. Like they were making a level, and then about a quarter of the way in, they said, "Screw it, here's Ruse." The castle should have transitioned to the afterlife area, instead of being its own, seemingly unfinished level. There are some positives. There was this one section that honestly gave me Labyrinth Zone vibes. I was disappointed that the slide wasn't bottomless. And there was one section that gave me Sandopolis Zone vibes because those damn horse heads follow you like the ghost did. You could have referenced any Sonic level, and you chose those two. Are you fucking high? Each level feels like its own world. A dimly lit submarine, a fish market, a grungy looking city, a lantern festival, the inside of a kaiju. Probably the longest level in the game. It's not a complicated level. It's just really, really, really fucking long. I know it's the height of the Chrysler building, but I got maybe an hour of footage of just kaiju innards alone. And the E&E lab, which feels like the biggest level in the game. And if Chio says it brings back bad memories, then you know it's gonna be good.
A few moments later.
Oh god, what the hell is that? It's a Shinobi game. Of course the evil corporation is gonna play God in the worst way possible. It's a guarantee at this point. You get used to seeing creepy shit in these games after a while. Like the dude who's part of this kaiju's heart. His fight wasn't so bad. Except for the acid that keeps hitting me and everyone else.
You stupid.
Speaking of bosses, this game has a bunch of them. Some are great. The rest can fuck off and never come back. They brought back the Mandara from the original arcade Shinobi, arguably the worst boss in that game. And he's back.
You should have killed me and set me free.
And he's arguably the worst boss in this game too. But I do enjoy these bosses. I just get in their faces and hack away. They do keep you on your toes, so be careful. There were some refights, like this shielded mech, and this demon dude who spins his sword around the place. It's really annoying.
Alright.
But aside from that, I had fun. From the Beastmaster that summons animals to ruin your day, Chio and her Tien Shinhan bullshit, this Cthulhu-looking thing that drops shipping containers on you, Tenval's heart. Seriously, mad creepy. And so are the twins. where you have to fight them separately until they form into one. Love this concept. But the final boss, Ruse, is a bastard. After you wind up in the spirit realm, you're greeted by all your dead ninja homies and your dog as you march alongside them for the final battle. But do they actually help you out in the final fight?
Nope.
Does the Grim Reaper actually help you in the final fight?
Nope.
We need to start seeing other people, Joe. Ruse likes to spam purple balls of death, and he likes to teleport and counter hit you. All attacks that you can't dodge because you can't roll dodge purple. A mechanic introduced in the first area. I like to use the vampire amulet here. You get health when you hit him. And the combo amulets with the upgraded katana really help here. Before the second and final form, Anko tries to get his scythe back, but loses. And all the dead ninja homies are absorbed into Ruse. He's more powerful, and by proxy, even cheaper than before. He does this attack, which is like a guessing game on where the red lines are going to go, and I guess wrong every single time. It's like he just knows where I'm going. If you have some color blindness and you can't see the red, you're even more screwed. But he can be exploited. I use the Fire Nimpo during his all-screen attacks because he's a sitting duck when he does it, and Joe is invincible when you use it. Fire and water were so good, I don't even think I bothered with anything else. When it's over, Joe says his one line of dialogue. No more ellipses. It's personal.
Die.
Yes, it was totally worth it. And I assume his voice actor was compensated well. It happens to be Takenobu Mitsuyoshi. And if you're a Sega fan, that name should be familiar to you. Because that's the Daytona guy. It's not the first time he played a ninja. He was Kagemaru in the Virtua Fighter games too. I played the game in English, and there are options for Japanese and various subtitles too. At least in the PS5 version that I played. However, when I eventually put the game dialogue in Japanese, some of the enemies were still speaking English.
Time to finish him.
My immersion is ruined! And some of the kids you rescued didn't sound like kids. They sounded more like Justin Roiland to me.
Oh, thank you so much! Those guys really don't mess around, huh?
Listen, after my last vid, I don't think I can ever go back to English. The dub is fine, but my immersion is not complete unless my ninjas are speaking Japanese. Or not at all. And whenever I see people like ProZD show up in the credits, the subtitles go on. He's the voice actors should only play their own race guy who keeps playing characters that are not his race. And Lord Ruse, the character he plays here, doesn't look very South Korean to me, Sungwon. You have no idea how much damage he did for minority voice actors because of his stupidity. Even himself. But don't be upset, Sungwon. I'm just listening to Japanese people play Japanese characters. It's what you advocated for, after all. Who else is here? Oh, fuck, Damon Mills is here too? Okay. If you don't follow Funimation and the Kick Vic stuff, don't. Trust me, I could sum it up with this one Norm Macdonald clip.
Now this might strike some viewers as harsh, but I believe everyone involved in this story should die.
But Damon Mills, I don't know how, but somehow he keeps getting work. I'm not saying he's a bad actor, I'm saying that he's got some big skeletons in his closet. I won't go into details, but it does involve a 15-year-old and a man in his 20s. Now, the accuser did retract his statements, which he claimed were posted out of malice. Some are convinced the accusations were completely fabricated. Others believe Mills lawyered up and forced the alleged victim into silence. It's an ugly situation, and I would be just a tiny bit cautious to hire this guy. Especially after his "believe all victims" post aged worse than expired milk. Believe them until they accuse you would have been a more honest post in my opinion. And if that wasn't bad enough, you could find a bunch of his DMs discussing what he would do to the boy. And some racial slurs mixed in as well. Let's just say, it's the one that rhymes with bigger. Vet your employees, people. But enough of that. Back to ninja shit. The game is not over when you see the credits. There is more. A boss rush mode is unlocked. there's an arcade mode for each level, but that's not the best part. I advise you to go out of your way to collect these lab keys. You get the last one after the fight with Ruse. Get all 6, and go back to the E&E facility containment room. Put the keys in this computer, and step inside the not-so-threatening entranceway here and fight a secret boss. Take a guess who it is. Holy shit. The fucking Shadow Master. Now, I've gone on record saying that the final boss dies too quickly in Shinobi 3, especially with the powered-up kunai. Great fight, but too short. A bit of a disappointment, I felt. That problem does not exist anymore. He now has way more health, even more than Lord Ruse. His fight is actually longer than both of his forms. They fixed it. They actually fixed the Shadow Master, and he has all of his old moves intact. And when you get him below about 20%, he starts going for an all-screen ninjutsu attack. So you have to haul ass to kill him, or start the fight all over again. Easily my favorite fight in the whole game by a mile. Possibly the most difficult fight in the whole game too. And it's done with his 30-year-old moveset. It's almost perfect. I just wish he wouldn't spam this stupid attack so often. It's even longer in its second form. Get back down here so I can cut you. You asshole. Beat him, and you unlock the Golden Shinobi outfit. And yes, it does absolutely nothing and is only there for bragging rights.
Raise your hands up!
The music this time is a joint effort between industry veteran and no stranger to ninja music, Yuzo Koshiro, and Tiago T. Lopes. And Lopes is how you pronounce it. The man himself made it clear. Koshiro's Revenge of Shinobi soundtrack was met with critical acclaim, and for good reason. It is that good. The real shame is that in Art of Vengeance, only a few tracks belong to him alone. That upsets me greatly. But he did work alongside Lopes for the bulk of the soundtrack, and T. Lopes has been composing music for all kinds of games, with Sonic games taking the bulk of his resume, even finding the time to make music for Streets of Rage 4. But if you ask me who T. Lopes is, I'll give you 2 words. He's come a long way from fan remixes, now composing alongside people like Koshiro and Sonic the Hedgehog veteran Jun Sonoe. He's living the dream. With what few tracks Koshiro contributed, he throws in that feudal Japanese style of music with Japanese instruments, and that urban feel I've come to associate with him over the years. Because underneath Shinobi's vast OSTs, that Japanese influence was always there. The Broken Hourglass is still my favorite of his here, which is ironically Middle Eastern inspired and a desert level. The least Japanese sounding song here. Lopes goes back and forth between different genres. There's lightning fast techno, rock, glitch hop and trap, orchestral arrangements, and music for platforming inside the guts of a kaiju. That's a genre I just coined and will be trademarking soon. There weren't any remixed or classic tracks here, which is interesting because Lopes' Sonic Mania OST was mostly remixed classic Sonic music, and I thought that game had too much remixed music and not enough new music. Do I feel like this soundtrack is in league with Revenge, or one of my favorite soundtracks on the Genesis, Shinobi 3? While the soundtrack understands the assignment, a lot of the tracks here could fit into any indie game, honestly. If I play Whirlwind, I imagine Shinobi 3. When I hear the Statue of Liberty level music, I imagine Shadow Dancer. If I hear PS2 Shinobi music, I go into a fetal position. If I hear some of the music in Art of Vengeance, I feel like it could belong in any 2D indie game, honestly. Like I said earlier, Art of Vengeance's biggest struggle is standing out in a vast ocean of indie games, and a lot of games are carrying the torch that Shinobi handed to them years ago, with composers who were inspired and are already savvy to Lopes' style of composition. Now, I didn't say the game didn't have any bangers, especially when the tracks get more aggressive during these E&E combat challenges. and Crimson Plains slaps. So does the Anko Rift music. And you better enjoy it because you will hear that music the most, whether you like it or not. Honestly, I wasn't expecting a Shinobi game in 2025. And I certainly wasn't expecting a character action Shinobi with Metroidvania elements in 2025 either. But here we are. And if there's two things I love, it's character action and Metroidvania. And ninja games. Three things. Maybe some of the die-hard fans will feel like Shinobi lost some of its identity with all the modernization. Or some gamers might think it doesn't do enough to separate itself from every other 2D indie platformer that's out right now. Why should I buy this game over something like Silksong, you might ask? It's only $20. How about shut up and buy them both? Two great games for about $50 sounds like a bargain to me. You could just pay $70 for a poorly optimized remake that barely runs at 720p and 50 frames per second. Do whatever you want with your money. But if there was one point in Art of Vengeance that justified my pre-order, it wasn't the platforming or the combat. It wasn't the music or the art style. It was this one spot in Neo City. This Sega sign. Big, bright, and blue. Just the way it should be. And also Ryo from Shenmue driving his forklift in the fish market. That was cool too. But what's even cooler? The DLC announcements for more Sega villains for Joe to fight. Supposedly Majima, Dr. Eggman, and Death Adder are coming to the game. Hopefully in early 2026. We're definitely buying that. Could you imagine a Golden Axe game in this style? With this combat? It must be done. Art of Vengeance was more than just another indie platformer. It was a love letter to Sega. A celebration of the good old days. A return to form for one of gaming's greatest ninjas, and the promise of a potential renaissance for Sega in the future. And no, I couldn't buy 10 copies of the game like I wanted. They would only let me buy it once. It was probably for my own good.